Disney and Pixar were in kind of a tough spot these last several years with every movie stuff, what they did with Inside Out 2. I mean, what's so good about Inside Out 2 that made it actually become the most Pixar allegedly made Inside Out 2's Riley less gay in response to Disney blaming Lightyear's failure on same-sex kiss. That's right. Apparently for Inside Out 2, Riley was supposed to be was the only reason that Lightyear was a failure, but I don't think having a gay couple in it, despite teasing it. And I just went back and revisited the trailers, potentially see them as not straight. We need to tone down the gay in this movie because there's too much hard they leaned into it in the movie. If it was just hinted, then maybe it could have still been a success. They all failed to make money at the box office. Onward maybe isn't the most fair one because it was released in it. Apparently people don't show up, but when they're getting away from that stuff, people show up to the theater. So maybe, or their identities being a significant part of the story, and it really hasn't worked out for them. This line can only be walked for so long, and Disney and Pixar will eventually need to have a better follow through on improved representation in this area, or they need to not have any representation in that area altogether because, as I said, it definitely doesn't help them at the box office. So why should they include it? Given the history of previous Disney and Pixar movies, I do not expect Riley to be confirmed as gay. Nevertheless, it is incredibly disappointing to hear that even the smallest suggestion of this was erased. I think it's actually pretty funny that they had to remove any implication of it because they were worried that it would cause their movie to bomb, and that these changes were justified because Lightyear's lackluster box office performance, Lightyear challenges, and Inside Out 2's success have little to do with their LGBTQIA+ representation or lack thereof. The biggest issue with Lightyear was its poor marketing that made the movie's relationship to the previous Toy Story movies needlessly convoluted. Yeah, like I said, I agree. I don't think that was the reason why it failed. I think there's many reasons why it failed, but that was something that definitely didn't help them out because when people were leaving the theaters for Lightyear, that was the talk about it. Is like it's pushing a political agenda, and then parents are like, okay, I guess I don't want to watch that movie. Like I said, with Inside Out 2, people were saying the exact opposite. It's not pushing any political agenda, and that movie was successful. So Hollywood studios, I think, are starting to learn right now. We've already seen that a lot of movie studios are trying to, if not get away from their DEI departments altogether, they're trying to at least kind of rebrand them because they don't want people to know that they're trying to overtly push politics in their movies. And I think in the coming years, because it's kind of a long pipeline for movies, we're going to start seeing movies get away from overtly embracing these sort of things. And I think we're going to start seeing people be more willing to actually support movies in the theaters if they feel like they're not just being lectured at whenever they go watch a movie. Because when people are watching a movie, they want escapism. They want entertainment. They don't want to just be reminded of the cable news that they consume on the weekly basis. It's like, all right, I get it. I see this stuff all the time whenever I turn on the TV or whenever I open social media. I don't want to be lectured to when I go and watch a movie. I just want to sit down and enjoy a movie with my family. Studios, if they want to actually turn out profitable movies, I think they should start listening to this and continue to actually make movies just for the purpose of entertainment. And if you're going to actually try to pander to a demographic that is willing to actually buy a ticket to your movie, as opposed to the ones who will just mouth off on social media, but ultimately don't actually support you when the time comes for them to. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you think this was a good decision on the part of Pixar to remove that? Or do you think they're just kind of getting a little bit too worried and it really wouldn't have affected the bottom line of this movie? Comment below, and if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.